We're going to go ahead and continue with our media availabilities for this afternoon. We're now joined by Austin Hill, driver of the number 21 Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing. Austin, you're here in Chicago. What do you think of the city and your outlook for tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about it. I just walked the track this morning like probably everyone else did, and it was very interesting to me on how tight the racetrack actually seemed. It seemed like on the simulator sessions that we did with GM, there was areas of the racetrack that actually looked wider than it actually is once we got here. So I think that's going to play a factor into, we're going to have to approach it a little bit different. There's a couple corners in particular where like 3, 4, 5, and then also once you got through like turn 10, those areas seem to be a lot different than what I had originally thought of and raced or practiced in the simulator and all the iRacing stuff I've done. So that's going to be a little bit of a curveball for us, but was able to run a ton of laps here in the simulator and on iRacing and do all those things. So feel like I have a fairly at least understanding of how the layout is in the racetrack and all. And there's a lot of areas that have been paved, so that's going to be interesting to see how the paved areas is versus the non-paved and the older track surface. So it's going to be wild. It's something that I would have never dreamed of doing, is racing on a street course, but here we are.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If you have one, raise your hand, and we'll get a mic over to you. We'll start with Mike Hembry and then go over to Jerry.
Mike Hembry, Auto Week. Austin, things like manhole covers, parts of surfaces that are not going to be level and that kind of thing, can you get to a point after you're on the track with practice and so on to where you might be able to use those things to your advantage in a way?
I'm not sure about the manhole covers. I think you're going to be just with them being nailed down like they are. If you run over them, I don't see them being much of an issue. There was one of them that I think it was exit of turn 5. I took a lot of pictures when I was out on the track. I think it was exit of turn 5, that if you're running 2x2 through there and you're on the outside, there's one that's actually, it has like a dip that kind of goes down into the track. So I think if you hit that, you could get the car kind of out of shape pretty easily through there. But as far as like the way the track is laid out and all, it seems like, a regular road, how it has the crown in it and for the water to wash if it rains. I think when you go over that crowning as you're exiting corners, maybe entering corners, that you're going to be off camber there. So that's going to be an area where you got to figure out when to be touching throttle, when not to be touching throttle, and that can really affect how your car's driving. So there's a lot of unknowns that we have going into the weekend that we're going to have to try to figure out very quickly in these 50-minute sessions that we have.
We'll come down here in the front to Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, kickingthetires.net. It was said a while ago that the Xfinity Series is basically the guinea pigs this weekend. So do you feel that way, and how much debriefing do you think you'll be doing with your Cup teammates over there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously with us being first on track, then you're not going to have anything to look at, no data to go back and kind of sift through and look at. So for us, I think when you first go out on the racetrack, you're probably going to take a lap of just going slow and just trying to figure out where all the brake markers is, figuring out where everything is, maybe feel the racetrack and the bumps and the different areas of maybe you're going downhill or uphill, elevation changes, that type of thing. So I think you're going to take maybe a lap where you're just going really slow, just kind of getting heat in your tires, trying to feel, maybe how slick the track is. And and then when you do start picking up the pace, it's like every lap you're going to get a little faster and faster because you're going to, maybe drive in a little deeper each lap, get a little braver. I think that the bravery might be down a touch just because you do have walls everywhere. It's not like you have runoff areas. You don't have somewhere where if you mess up, you can maybe dip into the grass or the dirt area or whatever. You have some type of runoff. You have a wall that you're going to hit. So I think the bravery level is going to have to kind of build up to it. It's not going to be something that you just fire it off in the corner of the first lap and hope it sticks. You're going to have to work up to it for the first 7, 8, 10 laps. And then, like you said, really tuning in on once we run our practice session and qualifying and all, really tuning in on what the Cup guys are doing, what they're saying. I think the track is going to get faster as the weekend goes, because I think as you're putting grip down and you're laying down rubber, I think you're going to start gaining grip, and it's probably going to get tighter everywhere. It's not going to be as slick, and you're really just going to get faster as the weekend progresses. So you got to kind of be ready for that. And what changes you might need to make as the weekend progresses and it gets faster.
Are there any other questions for Austin? Come down here to Dustin, then to Bob.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Austin, restart zone is before turn 12. You had a little bit of experience similar at Portland. How did that work? And I'm also curious too, with this restart zone, I'm not sure if any spotter is really going to have a good view of that. Does that make a difference in the sense of, are you guys just going as soon as somebody goes, or how much does it impact also not having the spotters maybe viewing that area?
Yeah, so the spotter deal, I don't think that's going to be a huge issue. The only thing that the spotter really helps with, though, is after you fire, if somebody maybe misses a shift, spins their tires, and say you're 15th, you can't really see what's going on ahead, so you might end up running into the guy in front of you or something. But so you might see us kind of laying off each other a little bit more, maybe giving a little bit more space until you exit turn 12, then kind of get running hard after you get off at 12. But as far as where the place of the restart zone is, I actually think it's a good idea, because I thought that it worked pretty well at Portland. I thought that it kind of spaced you out a little bit more, and you didn't have all that. You still had some dive bomb moves, but it was more deeper in the field. You didn't have guys that were doing it up front as much, where they're 4 or 5 wide trying to get into this little area that can only really race 2 cars side by side. So I think that helped in a sense of all the carnage and stuff you had into turn 1 at Portland. And I think it can help here as well, just kind of spacing everybody out a little bit, where you are going a little bit earlier into 12, then you got to kind of slow down a little bit, and then when you exit the corner, everyone's going to start getting spread out as you go down that front stretch.
In the back, try to catch up and slow down, and now you've got all this mess as everybody's going into the sharp corner.
Yeah, there could be a little bit of a coordinating effect. Hopefully we're up front all day, so it don't matter a whole lot. If we're inside the top 5 or 6, I don't think it's going to matter the first couple rows. But if you do get deeper in the field, I think there might be an accordion effect. So with this being our first year here and all, there's so many unknowns, like I was saying earlier, we just don't know. But I do think it's been a good idea to think about, instead of letting everybody get on the front stretch and everybody's just trying to time the restart zone out, and then you have all this carnage getting into turn 1. At least it kind of maybe spreads us out just a little bit to where there's not as much carnage getting into 1.
We'll come here in the front to Bob.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. Were you going to do the Cup race? Was that the hope? And then when they made the rule that you couldn't do both?
Yeah, so that was our original hope, was with no one ever racing here before, you would have extra track time, and it would kind of help you going into the weekend, because we were going to run a road course anyways, so we had to switch it over, and now we're doing the Roval.
And then Dustin was asking about spotters. RCR looks like that they're not putting their main spotter in the main section. Were you part of any of that decision making, and where you're going to put Derek?
Yeah, I was actually not a part of the decision making. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't even know where Derek's going to be. Normally, once we go out on the racetrack, for the first lap, with you taking it slow and stuff, they'll be like, hey, I got you here, I lose you here, and then that's when I kind of figure out where everyone's at. But I'm sure there's a reasoning behind on why they have Derek in the certain area that they're planning on putting him. But, yeah, I don't even know where that area might be.
Down here to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. So my question is, how different you think it will be being tentative, the Xfinity race, as opposed to by Sunday, the Cup race? I know you're not racing in it, but you start out on being the first vehicles on the track racing. So how careful do you think everyone will be?
I think you're going to have maybe a handful of guys that are really going to push it hard, probably right off the bat, and they may find speed right away, or they may end up in the barrels. We don't know yet, but I think most all of us are going to run probably at like 80% to start with, and just build up to it. Say you're braking at the 800 marker, then the next lap you might go to the 750 or 700 marker, and you're just going to keep pushing that deeper and deeper, especially in the hard brake zones into like 1 and into 6. And I think that leaning on and listening into what the Cup guys are doing. I know the Cup cars are totally different, but just hearing what they have to say, where the grip level's at, if they think the track's taking rubber a little more and maybe it's gaining a little grip, we got to kind of really listen into what the Cup guys are saying even after our practice and qualifying, so we kind of can make a little bit better of a prediction of what the race is going to look like going into later in that evening. Maybe there's more rubber, so you might have to adjust for that.
So in the Xfinity series, with 12 turns, how long do you think it takes before you don't give 80%, where you guys figure it out? Like, how long do you think on the Xfinity side it will take?
Yeah, I mean, I have my own mindset going into the weekend. I can't speak for everyone, but my mindset is to kind of first lap maybe go 80%, next lap maybe 85%. If the car's driving really good, then by the third lap I might get to 90%. So I'm going to try to go up by 5% each lap, and by lap 5 I'm hoping to be at that 100% mark and feeling like I'm driving to the limit of the tire, feel like I'm driving in as deep as I possibly can. So, but in saying that, I think that even after you get to that limit and you feel like you're at that 100% mark, then you got to be ready for change. I mean, I think the track's going to go through a change from lap 1 all the way to the very end of practice. So you might have to start changing your braking again. You might be braking at the 500 marker, but by the end of practice, it might change. You might back it up to 550 if the pace slows down a lot, or 600. So you just got to be ready for that. And I think it's going to be crucial going into qualifying, being able to set a lap. So by the end of practice, you need to have a really good understanding where your brake markers are, how hard you can push it through the corner, because setting a lap's going to be crucial to get the track position.
We'll stay over here to your right.
Susan Burkus, Chicago Star Media. Your fans, Austin, are wondering, should you have any spare time this first NASCAR event in Chicago? What are you going to do? What are you going to eat? Deep dish pizza, sights?
Yeah, so getting here this morning, we went straight to the track, obviously, and then I had a little bit of downtime after walking the racetrack, so we went over to the sushi place. Sheldon and I did Hot Walks, Cool Sushi, or whatever they call it. It was very good. I'm a huge pizza guy, so I'm definitely going to get into some deep dish pizza. Don't know which one yet. I'm sure there's plenty down through here, but yeah, I mean, this is really I've been to Chicago one other time, to the city and all, but only for maybe that day or whatever. So this is the first time I'm actually going to be here to stay overnight and have tomorrow racing and stuff. So maybe this evening we might get into something. I don't know yet, but we're gonna probably walk around and just check some things out. Maybe go see the Bean or whatever and check it out, get a picture with it, do all that. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns right now. I'm just kind of wherever Sheldon and I go, we're gonna probably do it together.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah.
Final questions for Austin? All right, Austin, thank you for your time. Good luck this weekend.